This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Cisco. Cisco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, fresh off of writing an indignant Google review, commenting about a 5-star Facebook post written by an anonymous Yelpster, soon to be reposted on a new subreddit, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today, we are putting on a big show or a big drama or a Tamasha. That's right. Everybody's talking about it. It's the hottest restaurant in North Carolina right now.
Yeah.
And here to tell us all about it is the chef, Mr. Bhavin Chhatwani.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
And owner and creator, Mr. Mike Kathrani.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We are so excited to have these guys on the podcast. It's the talk of the town. Everybody's all about it. We
can't get a reservation.
We can't even get a reservation. We know the guys. Speaking of something else that's the talk of the town, before we even talk with these wonderful gentlemen over here, I don't know if you guys know this, Mike and Chef Bhavin, but Max and I have this little Bubbles and thing going on, and we are doing one coming up in April 13th called Bubbles and Bagels.
That's right. You may have seen that we've done Bubbles and Brisket. It's a fantastic event we do in the summer, and we are doing it this summer in June. So save the date, June 8th. It's coming. But now is Bubbles and Bagels on April 13th. It's a Saturday, so my brain has to think about that for a moment. But April 13th, it's from 11:30 to 2. You know, Matt and I talk about sparkling wine all the time. It's this great cheat code. It mixes so well with so many things and kind of gets underutilized in just a kind of everyday generic food and beverage pairing. And we say, no, let's do it. Let's do it all the time.
Celebrate Bubbles.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with some help from Wine 100, which is a great wine shop there in Holly Springs, and with Chef Christy Griffith over at Pimento Tea Room, who is providing all these fantastic bagels. Who knew? Well, Matt knew that she could make these bagels, and you attest to it.
Oh, she made them once for a supper club, which I do. I sommelier for them once a month for their supper club, which raises money for Cure Search for children's cancer. And one time she made bagels, and I was like, we talk about bagels all the time because it's near and dear to my heart being from New York. And I was like, we have to do this on a larger scale.
Yeah. So get tickets. Tickets are on sale. We're a third of the way sold so far when we are recording this, which is whatever the day is today. What is today?
March
12th. March 12th. So
Big bro's birthday. Shout out to my big brother.
Oh, big bro.
Happy birthday, Josh. My
Josh.
big brother, my older brother.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. But get tickets. Go to ncfbpodcast.com/events. Click the link that's right here on this page and grab your tickets. It'll be a fun time. You'll have a great time out there in the community. We'll see you soon. But talking about the community here, that is like completely been lifted up and upgraded. We don't just have a new like Indian restaurant in the community. We took this, and I say we, the royal we, like we had a lot to do with it. Matt had something to do with it, a little bit.
I did have something to do with it.
Yeah, but
and I also predicted at our year-end show that, the Indian food or the culture around Indian food was going to be the story for 2024.
And you were not wrong, my friend. And so Tamasha just opened
9th of Feb, yes.
Like a month ago, right?
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, and it has opened up to kind of like some crazy fanfare. And I'm not kidding when I say you can't get a reservation. You guys are booked out a few months in advance. Is that fair?
Yeah, till May end, we are pretty much fully booked, right?
That is an unusual statement to make in the Triangle. This is something that would be common to maybe Bhavin's old parts, like going up in San Francisco or so, or just across the country in bigger cities. But it's almost like we've arrived when we have a restaurant that has a wait list to get in, and I'm so proud to hear about it. Let's unpack this story right now.
Let's start with Mike, because Mike, you were a restaurateur. You never cooked in a restaurant. I don't think you've ever worked in a restaurant, but you had this idea.
That's correct. So story begins when I landed this country. I did work in food court in Aramark for my school.
Okay.
But being always foodie and always thinking about opening a restaurant, me and my wife own other businesses. We have a very successful hair salon in West Cary, and we were looking for a second salon in North Raleigh.
Mhm.
And we ended up in North Hills, and of course they have a salon there, so they were not gonna give us a location for that. And then she's like, "Oh, you wanted to open a restaurant, right?" Because every other weekend I would open a restaurant with my friends and shut it down on Sunday night, because we always talk about what can we do.
It's
You're
an
saying,
idea
like,
always. It was an idea.
you would dream of opening a restaurant
Absolutely.
with your friends.
And then
Yeah.
by
Absolutely.
Sunday, you talked yourself out of it.
Absolutely. But back in 2010 in Boston, I was inquiring about a franchise, Indian restaurant that is a franchise.
Yeah. Okay.
They needed, of course, $500,000 at that time, and I didn't have it. So I didn't pursue that dream. And then back in 2011, again, we bought a restaurant, which is very small Thai place. And I wanted to bring, Indian street food in that area and grow from there.
Mhm.
And that didn't work out. And we moved here in Raleigh in 2013. Fast forward 9 years, 2022, my wife found this location in North Hills. And then we talked to our ownership. We gave them presentation, not from the food industry. Of course, every landlord wants to know, hey, how are you going to be successful? Because if they are, giving you their space to rent. So Tina created a beautiful rendering. Then we created a menu, of course, looking at doing the research and see what Raleigh is missing.
Mhm.
And we went and gave presentation. And then they approved that, okay, we can give you the space. And then we took it from there. But from day one, our goal was, me and Tina's, that we want to bring something Raleigh has not seen
Mhm.
in Indian food industry. Why? And we are fortunate that we have traveled enough in the world where we have seen why just New York and Chicago and San Francisco can have a good, elevated, modern Indian restaurant. Why
Yeah.
not Raleigh? And believe it or not, Raleigh has been number one, number two spot, growing spot in the whole United States, going against with Austin, Texas.
We believe it. It's why we have a successful podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and food scene has changed in Raleigh a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the Raleigh was ready for this. It's been in 2 years, and the kind of response we got was just unreal.
Yeah.
Well,
mean-
and to further that same point, like, and what I really appreciate about what's happening right now in this food and beverage community is we do have some people from India that live in the triangle, but
Mhm.
it's more about the cuisine. It's like the food is so damn good and people are very open to it that it's not like, oh, this restaurant's doing well because it has people from its land that live here. It's like, no, this is doing well because this food is being so widely accepted in America, and it's like it's arrived as like as a standard, I'd say, rather than like unique to the area. And so to that point, you could also like you could have a street food version of it. You could have a everyday like a mom and pop place, but then you can have an elevated version of it, like what you're doing right now, and it exists and it thrives for that. And that's I think the true tell of like a good food and beverage community is when you can have like these expressions in specific genres and it unfold like into the way you're doing it, which is really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was our goal, right? Because so my wife, Tina, was telling me, why can't we find a Michelin-star chef? I'm like, we are first-time restaurateur. And I mean, there are hardly 2-3 Michelin-star Indian chefs in the
Yeah.
United States. I was like, let's be realistic. But here is the power of spoken word. Bhavin comes to in our life, and we came to know that he has been, involved with a restaurant called Taj Kempton in San Francisco.
Mhm.
That was a 2 Michelin-star Indian restaurant in the whole world. It got shut down.
The
because of
only Indian Michelin-starred restaurant in the world.
2-star.
Yeah.
in the
Only
world.
2-star.
Only
Yeah,
2-star.
yeah.
During that time.
During that time. And then because of COVID, they shut down. And Taj Group is like, Ritz-Carlton of the United States. So he moved back to India, and then he came back to United States. But who knew that, if you speak with your heart, that we need a Michelin-star background chef, and here we have.
My wife
Well-
would say this thing like, put it in the universe, say it out loud.
And I know who knew. But before I reveal it, I want to say something. I don't mean this to come off like glib, although it's kind of funny. Is you could have easily, like a lot of your countrymen, opened up a freaking Goddard School or Primrose, like all of those, because I know because my kids, we looked at preschools. But you didn't. You decided to enter the food and beverage industry, and with this super elevated chef as well. When we talk about quality, we talk about fresh ingredients. So I want to pause before we talk about how you found this quality chef, Chef Bhavin, from a quick word for our title sponsor, Sysco.
Yeah, as an industry leader in food service, Sysco's reputation is on the line with every product they deliver. That's why they ensure Sysco brand products offer the best in quality and freshness every time.
First quality. Sysco products are monitored by dedicated inspectors using industry leading standards to make sure customers receive the top ingredients available. That means you can count on consistency and, above all, food safety in every product.
And as for freshness, Sysco serves up natural, hand-selected produce that's beautiful on the plate and delicious on the palate, because your menu can only be as good as its ingredients, and you deserve to shop with confidence. So when you shop Sysco, shop the best.
Visit Sysco.com. That's SYSCO.com to discover the value of fresh, quality products from Sysco Shop.
Sysco, at the heart of food and service.
So I love this story about how you found Chef Bhavin and how Chef Bhavin came to you, because it involves one of a dear friend of the show and somebody who's a former Cody Award winner from the NCF&B podcast that we give out a Person of the Year, and she was the original winner. So which one of you would like to tell the story of how you found Chef?
I need to. Because, again, as I said, we just put it out there. I interviewed over 70 chefs.
Wow.
Because of our vision. And you have seen the place, how it has come out. It was just incredible.
It's beautiful.
How Tina has designed every piece, what she can custom make for us, she did. It was not easy. I mean, creating your own restaurant, of course, and plus, creating that interior design. But when we had that vision and we put it out there, and I have never met Preeti Vaz. And she's my godmother, if you will.
Your fairy godmother?
She's everybody. She's my godmother,
absolutely.
too. Yeah.
So she messages, I think, Tina or on Instagram that I have this application from a chef and he could be a good fit for your concept.
And how did she even know about your concept at that point?
So I don't know whether, I didn't know Preeti before. Tina didn't know Preeti. We knew who Preeti is.
Yeah, but you didn't know her personally.
Yeah, personally. Yeah. But she reached out. I think it's on Instagram. And then we got the resume. I talked to Bhavin, and we talked for over an hour just on our first conversation. It was, this is the vision and his experience. It was like a perfect marriage, if you will. He comes down from Chicago and to interview. How I'm going to interview? Because I don't have a kitchen.
Yeah.
Guess what? Who comes to rescue? Preeti.
Yeah.
She was so kind. She says, you know what, Mike, you can use my kitchen. Okay. And anything you need, just let me know. And he came in, we cooked few dishes. I'm a vegetarian. And there is a dish we have on our menu, which is oyster 65, which is fried oyster, sits on a bed of a curd rice. A curd rice is a very comfort food from southern India. But instead of rice, chef uses smallest grain from Ethiopia called teff.
Yeah.
And he made that day. And of course, we had shrimp and many other dishes. I just had a bite of that. And I'm like, wow. Just that. I'm not kidding. Nothing else. Because otherwise, I could just tried sauces. That's it. Preeti had all the food. But she was kind enough to, let us use her kitchen for a few hours.
This was at Cheney, the Raleigh location before she had Durham.
Yes. Yeah. And chef is cooking inside. He's prepping and everything. And me and Preeti start talking. I said, Preeti. And of course, I'm meeting her first time. She was gracious enough. As soon as I went there, it was in the late afternoon. She gives me a tea and one of her best baked cookies.
Which she knows, like, that's her jam.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a jeera cookie, if I remember correctly. It was, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
I was super hungry. And if you give somebody in Indian a tea with a cookie, you want that person.
Yeah.
Right?
Best friends.
And then we start talking about our concept, what we want to do. And he said, Mike, you're doing the right thing. Raleigh has not seen something like this. And if you execute it well, you will do well.
That's awesome. And it feels good when you get the support of somebody of her stature and in the community especially being that this wasn't your industry, and aside from all of your weekend, visions of opening a place, like you do kind of need some support from like the outside world kind of to push you a bit, right? Like
Oh,
you're like,
absolutely.
am I just insane to think that this is going to work?
Yeah.
It's like nice to get some affirmation from somebody that's also in the community that is successful too. So
Oh,
that must have felt
absolutely.
good.
And being in North Hills, we cannot do anything less than that. And what we did, it required a lot of capital. And
Yeah.
being a first-time restaurateur, no bank wanted to entertain that.
Hmm.
None whatsoever. So we had
Who'd
to
you
come with
hold
a plan.
up?
So we had to, of course, get all our savings
Mm.
of our 15 years and pull it out and, invest it.
Wow.
Nice.
I mean, I have a good idea of what these types of places cost and what happens. I mean, you didn't.
Yeah. And by
Did
the
you
way,
get any leverage? Like, oh, what were you?
I was just going to say, this is not just like, this is right in North Hills in these like kind of extravagant neighborhood right next door to Cuciola Terrazza. So we know it's not cheap. Just to whatever you think it costs, like it's the top of that range.
Yeah, add another like 20%.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, this is a 7-figure deal. I would venture getting close to a couple 7 figures in there, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially first time. It's risky. A lot of this stuff is risk, but also if you don't do it, then you'll never know. And like as your wife has written on her page, she's a serial entrepreneur,
Mhm.
and you need to kind of put your money where your mouth is, or more importantly, put your money where your dreams are.
Right.
And I really appreciate that you did that. And on top of it, like coming from her, where is she? Why isn't she here right now?
She got
but
tied up
yeah.
with work because we have a full-time careers.
she's
out
too
of
busy
this.
making money for everybody right now. Yeah.
And same thing with the hair salon, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have any expertise, but we created a luxury hair salon in West Cary,
Mhm.
which is, I think, top 2 right now in the whole Raleigh market.
Yeah.
We have, in just 3 years, we have 675 5-star reviews.
Wow.
So we drive by our goal in life. If you have enough passion about doing something, it can beat the talent any day.
But it's the vision, and I
Of
see
course.
that. I think that's where your wife and you yourself, but like I bet you give her a lot of credit for
No,
like
it's her,
having that
actually.
vision.
It's her. So salon was her vision.
Yeah.
Restaurant was my passion.
Yeah.
But it was her vision of, why don't we just do a restaurant here? She found, so same thing with the hair salon, because we didn't have any experience. So no landlord wanted to give us a space.
Mhm.
She went to many places and we found one of the best locations.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. It's a 3-side glass. So,
Yeah.
perfect daylight. We have Publix right across, and we got blessed.
Yeah.
How the response we got. Same thing here.
Yeah. And for those that don't know this area, if you're listening to this outside of the triangle, North Hills is like our Beverly Hills. It's like our fancy spot. Like it's high end, but there's a dense cluster of humanity right there. Like you've got
Absolutely.
business all above, and like some high rises, and then you have a very dense cluster of community of houses, homes. My daughter's school is right across the street. Like that. This is like where we are. I ran a restaurant it's no longer there for 3 years, so I know North Hills extremely well. And by the way, the joke I always said when I moved to, because I moved here in 2013, just like you did,
Oh, okay.
but from Los Angeles. And when I lived here and I was running running Midtown Grill in North Hills, when my friends back home would say like, "What's North Carolina like? What's Raleigh like?" I'm like, "It's really white." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I mean, it's fine. Like, I expected there to be a little bit more diversity." And I was like, "Yeah." And then after I left North or Midtown, I went to Standard Foods in the Oakwood district. That's a little bit more closer to downtown. And I'm like, "Oh, there is diversity in this city."
We're just in a little bubble.
It was just all not in North Hills.
Yeah.
true.
But that's changed a lot.
also. Yeah.
That's changed a lot too.
So let's get into this vision that you're talking about, and along with that comes Chef Bhavin. So Bhavin, what was that first conversation? Because it seems to me like you guys were aligned from the very beginning.
So, like with the restaurants and the hotels I work with, like back in India, so I was always working with the 5 stars hotels like Taj and Oberoi, which is like the Ritz-Carlton, Mandarin Oriental of the India. So they're like a top tier luxury. So starting from my career, I went to the culinary school, which is at Aurangabad, which is one of the best in the country. which is again with the Taj. And then I got to do the internship like with the Taj Palace, New Delhi, Oberoi Uday Vilas. The fast forward. Then,
Well, hold on a second, because and this is something that I love you guys shared with me when we were talking about wine at Tamasha. You know, being a chef, even though it's sexy and popular in the United States, still in India is not thought of very highly, right? Like your parents didn't want you to grow up to be a chef, I'm assuming.
Exactly. So my parents, like just like any other Indian parents, they want me to do like either engineering or MBA, like and follow like do the 9 to 6 job. At that time, I remember there is one movie came called Three Idiots. It's like one of the favorite movies for all the
It's called Three
Idiots.
Idiots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Idiots.
So there was like there's one dialogue like even if I'll become the MBA, I would not be the best. Like let me follow my passion. Otherwise, like I would be cursing you for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just like make my parents little emotional and giving all the phrases from that movie. And one day I remember like my dad is like, pack up your bags. Let me know the best college like in the country, and we'll make you admission like over there.
Nice.
We'll
Okay.
take you there. And I was like, it's not easy to get the admission in the best college in the country. So then I gave him the list of top 5 colleges, and out of that, 3 or 4 admissions were closed because I was already late. Then turns out to be like the one of the best college, which is like in the country. That admission was open, and I then didn't knew that that is the best college in the country that time because I just passed out from the high school.
But this is just college. This is not a culinary.
That's a culinary
Oh,
school.
it's culinary.
It's a
Okay.
culinary school I'm talking about. And I didn't knew that it's like, it's a prestige. For me, it was like the admissions were open because the college gets degree from the Huddersfield University, which is in UK. So they start the course in the month of September. So turned out to be their admissions, their few seats were available. And they want us to come and like give the interview and fill all the documents. And then dean and everybody interviewed. There was some aptitude tests. And luckily, I got admission in that college. And after that, it was a 4 years of culinary arts course. I did my BA honors in culinary arts from there. And so initially, my parents were like, if you are going, like, you have to be the best because like the competition in industry was, especially in India, it's like way more. Like there are hundred thousands of the people like graduate every year, but like the success ratio is pretty less. So for me, it was an additional responsibility because my parents have sent me to one of the best colleges in the country with so much of the fees, the tuition fees were really, really high. So I came with the thing like, I need to be best if my parents have trusted me and given me a chance to pursue my passion. And turned out to be, I was in the, like always in the top 5, top 3 students.
So that set you on your path of like, I'm not
Yes.
just going to do this at some low level. I'm going to always be a fine dining at the highest elite level.
Yeah, you found
So-
your lane
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, there was a time the call went from the college to my parents, and then the dean was telling, oh, we are fortunate, we are so proud of him to be to be the alumni of our college. And my parents were so proud. So, moving forward, there was a graduation ceremony. And graduation ceremony, the best meritorious performance and all these awards were like announcing. And I got 2 awards in that.
Oh,
And
wow.
my father was jumping off the seat. And and then later my father is like, were you the only student? I was
No,
like,
Dad, I
"Come
was
on,
big
I
fast.
worked hard
Thanks,
for it.
Dad."
Come on.
Yeah. That's awesome. So when you were in school there, what's the curriculum like do you still like, because like Western culture, culinary school, you're going to learn
So-
like French cuisine first,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like as your primary standard, and then you kind of evolve out. So where does that land for you?
So the school was, I would say, like, what the major learning you do is like not in the school, when you go in the industry. And luckily, like before I pass out from my school, my school has a program which gives me an internship of almost 18 months before I pass out. So during my school, 1 year I went to Delhi with the Taj Palace, did my internship. 6 months I went to Oberoi's. So the school, of course, gives us a training of the French cuisine and the global cuisines of the world. And then, of course, there would be a management studies, anthropology, accounts, and so it was like a really good curriculum the school
Hmm.
offers. As soon as like you pass out from the college, again you have to start from the base, right? You have to start from the zero because the school give you a knowledge, but would not lend you a good job. And that's why most of the once you get into the industry, the life is completely different when you experience in the industry. Like there is a 12, 14 hours of work. The pays are too low. Like initially when you start, you have to struggle, you
Yeah.
have to grind every day. Like I remember like the first time I started working, there was a blisters all over my feet. And like my parents are like, why are you working so hard? You're not even making not even a 50 or $100 in a month, right? And why you need to work so hard? But that was my passion, which was driving me. And it's like, don't talk to me about work because this is what I love. And then later, like after school, I applied for this management training program. So that's management training program. Like the Taj has like a Taj and Oberoi. It's called TMTP or OCLD. So there are hundreds and hundred thousands of the students apply, and they pick only 5, 7 numbers from throughout the country.
Oh.
So it was like 7, 8 round of interviews, and like so my goal was to be the part of that. And I always like put in the air like I want to be the management training because the greatest chef in the industry has come from that background. Like if you see all the big chefs, Indian chefs, they have been the part of that management training
Okay.
program. So I applied, and luckily I got picked. And in my batch, it was like only 6, 7 of us were who got through it, like from entire country, from entire India. And through that, I would say I was blessed because the company trained you for 2 years to be the future executive chef. So I would say like Taj gave me a lot of training, and what it made me what I am today.
Yeah.
So I work with Taj for almost 6, 7 years.
And they're
Before.
the ones that brought you to the United States.
Yeah, they're the one who brought me to the United States and giving me a chance to be a chef, senior sous chef at a 2 Michelin-starred restaurant
Okay.
in San Francisco. So because of that program, I got to travel to like all the cities of India, like major cities of India, to learn the specific cuisines and to learn the like what it takes to be the the good executive chef, because it trains you to be an MBA, it trains you to be the trains you to be cuisine specific. So I
Sure.
traveled to Lucknow. I traveled to Lucknow for the of the cuisine. Then when I went to South, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore to learn the southern cuisine. I went to Delhi. Then I went to all these big cities
Yeah.
and the big luxury hotels we have been traveling. And after that, I got my first posting to work as a chef of the restaurant, as it's in Taj Falaknuma Palace, which is like another super luxury hotel of India. It's in Hyderabad, and I was a chef for this restaurant called Ada. And of course, I was also in charge for their banquet. So the Ada restaurant was also in top 50s of India by Condé Nast Traveler.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to lead that restaurant for almost 2 years. And
wow.
So, Chef, I want to take this a little fast forward because I do want to hear all about like the regional cuisines of India and how you're bringing it together at Tamasha. But
Yeah.
one thing that's been curious on my mind is, so you've now in the United States worked in San Francisco and Chicago at
Yes.
prestigious restaurants. You wanted to come to Raleigh because you sent your resume to Preeti.
yeah, so what happened was so Raleigh was never in the picture
Okay.
initially. I was just so Chicago was my second inning. So first after I was in San Francisco, and I went back to India, opened another 5-star hotel with the Taj in Chennai, like as a opening chef. And I went with the Oberoi's, opened another. So the Taj wants me to move to Cape Town, which I didn't want to. So I went with the Oberoi's because it was again my dream company to work with. Was heading the none of the Oberoi property back in Chennai, like opened one of the restaurants, like changed their menus, and I was leading the team. I was very happy. And then there was a itch, everything is so smooth, like you are in working with one of the top hotels. So I was like, I need to. Oberoi is already a brand, but what about creating your own brand, right?
Yeah.
So that was always an itch, and I was young and I was doing good. So I was like, let's take a chance and like move to United States again, because I want
So
to
leave the company.
leave the company
yeah.
and like make your name again, because people have created the brand and I want to create my brand with my name. Okay, for example, Tamasha is opened by Chef Bhavin.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to create my name because I know that I have that thing, and I can work with the big brands, but at the same time, like there was a itch to do something and like take a chance of creating something by yourself. So that's the time I moved to United States with the second inning. I was in Chicago, and of course, like that was already an established restaurant, and I knew that that's not my calling, and I want to create and open a restaurant by myself in the United States. So yeah, I have I have a 3, 4 options of opening in like Miami, LA, and New York. But like somehow me and Mike got connected through Preeti, and Mike is like,
how did you know Preeti? You just like, so, I
So-
mean, obviously she was a James Beard nominee.
Of
And
course,
so I
that
guess
was
you
one
saw
of the
that.
reason, and like I was connected with like a couple of good chefs, like who have done really good. I was connected with all the chefs in the United States, so because of the chef circle, like I know that Preeti is one of the good chef, like he's doing really good, James Beard nominee. So I got in the contact with the Preeti, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm like, wanted to do. Like, so then that's how she connected me to Mike. He's like, hey, chef, like, I know that like that's what your vision is, and like why not you and Mike talk?
Hmm.
And she connected me to the mic, and of course like Raleigh was not in the picture that time, and I was like, I just wanted to work with the owners like who don't cut the edges and like who as follow the same passion as like what I want to do it. So Mike is like, hey, we spoke for almost 1.5 hour on the first call, and I really liked what he was doing and what he wanted to bring to the Raleigh market. And of course, like Raleigh, I have never visited, so I was like, I don't know what it would be like,
Yeah.
to be in a Raleigh. So Mike is like, oh no,
What do you think?
now I love it. I would say Raleigh grows on you.
Yeah.
So I came here like
Good
with-
answer.
with-
Good answer.
Yeah, with no vision of like being, because I remember like the very next day I was after meeting the Mike, I had an appointment in the Miami
Okay.
with another owners and the to open the restaurant in Miami. But like what strikes me when I met him, the vision, the passion, and the way he wants it to do it is exactly the way. And I told him like this is what I want to do, right? And he respect and he appreciate like my vision too and what I want to, because I'm the person of like integrity. I would like want to bring the best things on the plate, no cutting edges, and he has like the same vision and passion for it.
Yeah.
So something like got struck like with the gut feeling, with the everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think just leave everything. This is a place like because there's no way like we could got connected. Like, and I go with the science too, and on the top of that with the feeling, with the vibes. So me and Mike were like, of course it was my chance. My parents like, of course I was discussing my parents and other people in the industry. It's like, hey, you are going with somebody who is opening a restaurant for the first time. And
Well, he's keeping it real, mom and dad.
yeah, with
Yeah.
your background and with your background, like you just don't you think you should not take a risk? And I was like, hey, maybe he's opening the first time, but it's not me who's doing the first time.
Yeah.
So it's just it takes my like more responsibility on me to make sure that like whoever is like saying that okay, whether
Yeah.
you should do it or not, to tell it to the world, okay, I would make sure that this restaurant would be one of the most successful restaurant in the United States.
Yeah.
And it was an extra. Of course, I was nervous. It's like I would not deny there was there has been a times like where I have a sleepless night, but passion and then the dedication drives you, right? So I was like, this is my chance and this is my like thing to make sure that like I would make this restaurant successful. And of course, there's a passion to it, there's a drive to it, and if you do everything with a hard work, I think nobody could stop you.
Yeah. Passion, dedication.
Yeah,
And on top of that, you guys also have the story.
yeah.
And Mike, can you share with me why you named the restaurant Tamasha?
Absolutely. So before I answer that question, if you don't mind, just adding what Bhavin said.
Mhm.
So the passion connected us, and then of course I have never opened a restaurant, and he was moved here in June, July, and we were talking every day because we both are night owl. So we would talk every day, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the
2 o'clock in the
morning
night,
about to-do list and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So, and that's why where we are right now. So Tamasha means performance, right? It's a connotation in India. It's like street performance, if you will. But in
Okay.
Google says grand performance.
Yeah.
I said perfect. And because we have a couple of elements of our dishes, which has, a dry ice element. So the smoke comes out of it. We have one of the drinks, which has, we smoke the drink and present it to the guest like a table side. So that's how we were, basically relating that Tamasha with our food presentations and everything. And then I was looking at Tamasha and I'm like, Jesus, this is T.A. So Tina's real name is Tarang. So T.A. My real name is Manoj. It's M.A. My son's name is Arush. And S.H.A. I said, this cannot be true. I mean,
That's cool.
and then I said, Tina wanted to change the name. It's a common name. It's
Yeah.
nothing unique to it.
Sure.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm not changing the name. It has our initials here.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for the concept what we are bringing.
Well, and
So
common is actually kind of good, especially like in this country. Like no one generically knows what Tamasha means, but it rolls off the tongue easy and it's
right.
easy to know. But for anyone that does know what it means, they're like, yeah, got it. Simple, like it's straightforward, which is a good thing.
It
Like simplicity
It's
is
good
sometimes the
branding.
best
It
thing.
is.
Yeah.
But it was an emotional connection for us now, right? It's more emotional because our initials
Yeah.
tied to it. So
I love that. By the way, I mentioned this with Preeti, who was just on a couple weeks ago. We were kind of talking about like where she's from specifically in India, being that India is so large. For the two of you, where'd you grow up, and how far away from each other? Let's say, like where are your backgrounds, and did that have anything to do with how you formulated the menu of what you're serving now?
I think Bhavin should take
Okay,
that question
so
first.
I come from the western part of India called Rajasthan. I'm born and brought up in Udaipur. So my parents, like of course, like during my great grandparents during the partition, it was India and Pakistan like
Yeah.
before the partition. So my great grandparents like came to India through the ship because of course the partition was happening, and they decided to settle down in the city Udaipur. And my mother, she's from Ahmedabad, where where the Mike family, like the bag, like Mike family is from. It's Gujarat, right? So, and it's not that far. It's like around 120, 150 miles.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I come from the northwest part of India called Rajasthan, Udaipur. But my culinary journey, after I pass out my college graduation, it took me for a very long time in all across the country, and especially in Chennai, Hyderabad, and the Bangalore. So if you see my menu, so my menu would be like the combination of the best dishes from all across the country, and I want to make sure that I want to keep my flavors bold, authentic, and still modern. Like I didn't want to compromise with the flavor profiles. If you're opening in the United States, like you have to tone down. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. I would be bringing the best flavors on the plate and describing my culinary journey across. So what I call my menu at Tamasha is like it's my love letter to India.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and that's what you guys mean by modern Indian, because you're not just sticking to one region, or you're not doing the the curry dish that is
Yeah.
at every street corner, at every
Exactly.
quote unquote
Yes.
Indian restaurant. This is the best flavors of all of it coming together.
Exactly. So if you see our sauces are very refined but very bold and flavorful. Our meat, we cook the French techniques to cook it. We cook it for like couple of hours. Like use all the different kind of techniques to cook our meats. And then the ingredients comes from all across the world. We source the best of the ingredients without compromising. Like okay, if the best lentil is for dal makhni comes from this particular region, I would make sure that I would source from that particular region. The chicken, no hormones, organic kitchen chicken come from this farmer, I will source it from that farmer. So yeah, we want to make sure that like if we are bringing to something to the Raleigh, it should be known through all over the US, and especially the eco goes to India as well. Okay, some chef has created this restaurant which is making the name all across the world. So that was our goal to bring with the Tamasha.
Yeah, that brings up a point when you were talking about your sourcing and all. What has been your opinion, and maybe tell us about maybe in a good or even in a struggle finding sourcing in North Carolina for your ingredients, being that when you were in California, like, or in Chicago, like San Francisco, you can have anything, right? Like it's the easiest to find everything in those places. So what has it been like to source for your menu here in Raleigh?
I agree, but the goal was like to leave as less carbon footprints as possible, and like try to source as much local as we can. And I would say I was fortunate enough to come to Raleigh because the people are very nice, warm, and very welcoming.
Mhm.
So there was a great helps from the other chefs as well to connect to the resources which they have. The people were very warm and welcoming to help us. So I would say it was not that struggle. Initially, yes, you need to find the right suppliers, and you try to sample a lot of the ingredients, and that's a part of the process as you're a chef. But it was not as challenging because nowadays everything is possible to source anywhere. Uh, If you say in Chicago and California, it was easier
Mhm.
because everything was like just a next doorstep. Over here, like yeah, we need to source couple of items and from the suppliers in California and Chicago. But like yeah, our major produce, major of the proteins, everything comes locally. So which makes our work much more easier and more feasible. And we don't and of course, don't want to leave the carbon footprints, and so that's what helped us, like, when we are sourcing from local farmers and local
Yeah.
suppliers.
By the way, this would be a great segment to say, and Cisco is moving to an all electrical vehicle fleet.
That's
Which
right. They
actually
are.
is true.
Less carbon footprint,
yeah.
Absolutely.
and the biggest distributor in the world. So that's a good thing when a big company leads the way into something that's important, because then everyone else will do it too. Because they're like, oh, we have to do this because they're doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Lead the way.
Matt, so you have helped out a little bit in the sense that you sell some wine to Tamasha,
hmm
but maybe you can open up that conversation so that we can all discuss what's the beverage program look like over there at Tamasha.
Well, I'll speak to the wine for sure because when I met with these guys, I loved the passion was very evident right off the front, and they were like, "Okay, this is our flavors," and I could see you showed me the design, you showed me the idea, but you were also saw that my experience could really help answer some of your questions about running a beverage program.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, I really like these guys. I'm going to help them out. Plus, selfishly, I want them on the podcast to talk about their passion.
Yeah.
And I want to sell some wine, of course. But so what I did was I took what you guys heard. We tasted a lot of different stuff and kind of just put out a proposed list for you guys, which then worked with some of your management to implement. I think the idea is really, and what Mike and Chef and I talked about is there's places you go and they have good wine and they're like, oh, yeah, nice wine. Cool. Great. And then there's places you go because they have great wine and they have a great beverage program. And I think, I'm not sure, to be honest, if it's quite there, but that's the goal.
Absolutely.
And it's getting there because the food we know is going to be great.
Absolutely.
And the beverage part has to be with
Thanks
it.
for
And so it's
listening
like,
to the Gansey Avenue
and that's, I think, where we
And
really
if you've stuck
aligned
with
is
us
that
this long,
let's make this a
review us on
place that
iTunes
you want to
and
go
remember,
because of the
5
drink.
stars are
Absolutely.
encouraged.
Yeah, I'd call you a liar. Opened up with a perfect wine program from the way to go, but the way the wine program works is if it evolves based on your food, based on what the customers are looking for, the community is asking for, and that's all going to evolve. And that's what makes a really great wine program. And Matt knows that.
Yeah. And I mean, luckily, obviously, because North Hills is one of my areas, I had a good idea of what's going to work, for the most part. But again, then there's always curveballs and other stuff. And precisely your food has so many different exotic flavors that some of those things change.
Yeah.
The fun part is like India is like a very diverse country, like very, very diverse. So in every 50 miles, like you find something very different cuisine. And like if you go every 50 miles, there will be completely different cuisine all over the country. And apart from that, every community has also their own cuisine. So there is so many unexplored recipes. Like even if you do learn each and everything every day, it took 100 years and you're not able to cover it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the research I want to do it.
But the one thing also that we agreed upon and goes back to our bubbles is that, okay, this has to have like some serious champagne availability and some really good bubbles. And so we started with a few and actually I'm meeting with your bar manager today to maybe talk about bringing on some other champagne. And because
especially with like wine or food that has heat and also like any just rich ingredient, like you need something to cut through. You need that acidity and the sparkly effervescence helps out. I had a question though, like way back in the day, we had Joel from Next Century Spirits, and they had talked about how they opened up a distillery in India, mainly to like start making their product there, only because the tariffs of bringing product from here into India would basically double the cost of the expense.
Yeah.
And it would be cheaper to just build a distillery in India, and that the consumption rate of bourbon in India is the fastest growing of any country in the world. Like everybody's drinking bourbon in India.
Absolutely.
Is what I've heard.
Absolutely. So India has evolved a lot in, the spirits.
Yeah.
India has a very good whiskey program nowadays.
Yeah.
We have some distillery who are creating really good whiskeys. The Rampur of the world. We have Amrut. We have Indri just got one of the best, whiskey award in the world. So, and as you said rightly, the disposable income in last 25 years has exponentially grown in India.
Yeah.
And people are ready to pay for good experiences. especially in spirit and beverage and food programs. So even the beers, for that matter, has grown number of. The only thing we don't have is our own spirit, if you will. Like vodka is Russia,
Yeah.
rum is Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
We have Old
whiskey,
Monk.
Old Monk, rum,
Yeah.
but still not.
Yeah.
It's not Indian, right? Rum is
Yeah.
invented or whatever.
Yeah.
So there is one drink which is made out of cashew nuts called Fenny,
Oh,
I want to bring it
which
in.
is
yeah.
which is coming up soon.
that sounds
from India.
awesome.
It
Like
is
cashew nuts make so much sense to
Oh, it's
distill
so
from.
good.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
good.
like fatty and sweet and
Yeah.
salty, like
And
all
you-
of it.
Yeah, so no, that's not. It's so particularly like that Fanny has two versions of it.
Is it
One-
FENNI or
Correct.
F-
FENN.
So,
Okay, we got to get, yeah. How do you get your hands on it and then get it here for us to try?
So yeah, that's we have to figure out the licensing and all that part. But it goes really good with a limca drink,
Okay.
which is like the lemon with the
7
lemon
Up.
and
7 Up.
yeah, 7 Up kind
Okay.
of a thing.
Yeah.
And it's
Or
particularly
Sprite.
drink very widely in the Goa region.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the soda? I know Preeti has it at Chini, the one with the thumb. What's it called?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs
Right?
up.
Thumbs up,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs up is like
It's
like
a
a
Coca-Cola.
cola.
It's a Coke. I mean, in a way, it's Coke bought it,
Yeah. Okay.
but it was more stronger. Coke changed the recipe a little bit
Oh, okay.
after they bought it, but that was the original cola of India. So
Yeah.
Limca was again a stronger version of Sprite, 7 Up,
Hmm.
and we had Gold Sport, which is what is the Fanta we have here.
Yeah. I wonder, do you remember that game back in the day, Heads Up 7 Up, and you had to put your thumb up to play it? Does anyone else know this game?
No.
Do you know this game?
No.
So like from what I remember in elementary school, you turn the lights off in the classes. Like at the very end of the day, we would do this. Everybody put their head down and they put their thumbs up. It was called Heads Up 7 Up. And one student would be it. And they would get up and they would walk around and they would touch your thumb. And if your thumb was touched, you'd put your thumb down. Our YouTube listeners can see that my thumb is down right now.
Yeah.
But if you were listening, you'd have no idea what that
Yeah.
means. And then you would like go up to the board, and this is where I kind of forget, but like you would have to guess through a series of questions who was touched, like who, like kind of, I don't know, duck, duck, goose type of thing.
Yeah,
was
it
like
sounds like just like Duck Duck Goose.
yeah, but like you didn't get up and run around. Like it was like a strategic game, like Clue, like who
Okay.
was touched, but it was like thumbs up, 7 Up. Yet now we've got this thumbs up soda but that's like Pepsi. I don't know. Anyways, it just popped into my head as a crazy memory. That's rather here nor there.
Okay.
But
I want to touch back on something you said because it was alluding to like the consumption of
Yeah.
India because they were always, especially when it came to whiskey, a heavy
Yeah.
consuming nation.
Right.
The old joke, I'm going to sound like a
big drinkers.
I'm going to racially profile or like probably some people would call me a microaggressor here. But like,
Yeah.
do you remember back in the day when we were bartending? You guys tell me, but you see the Indian guy walk in and you just already start pouring the Johnny Walker Black.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
just every Indian guy would drink that.
That
But that was
Chivas
before-
Regal.
Every Japanese
Steve
guy
S.
could pull out the Budweiser. That was like a generic thing. It was like,
But that was before we had micro distilleries and all these options for brands.
Yeah.
So I would say that you guys have always been a fan of really good whiskey, and especially from the UK.
Yeah, and the good thing is, like in the Tamasha, we have the really, really good whiskey program too. We have some of the premium whiskeys at Tamasha. And on the top of that, like currently we are almost have a 60 labels of wine, and the target is to go to 90 or 100 labels by first quarter.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and as you said, if I say I have a perfect wine program, it's a lie. It's never going to
just
be
getting
right?
better and
It's
better each
always
day.
evolving.
Yeah.
We want to do analytics, see what our guests like, and recommendation from Matt, chef's palate, of course, my bartender, bar manager, and other
Mhm.
team members. We are evolving and creating one of the wine programs, eventually the wine dinners, and want to do some kind of a charity dinners for local charities and everything. So we want to evolve. It's not just a restaurant to make.
And I have a question though about staying in this. I love like learning about new facets of traditional things like wine or liquor or whatever, but in different countries. What's wine look like in India? Because I know like the wine program, I'm aware that wine is starting to become far more like reaching. Like there are wineries all over India. I'm aware of that, but what does that look like, and what's coming out of
So
India?
it's getting popular, like from last 3 to 4 years. It's just getting popular now. If you say 10 years, 15 years down before, the wine programs were not that really good. But now it's evolving as like people like everybody's like a global traveler, so
Mhm.
people know about the wine and the people have the knowledge. So now a lot of good wineries are coming in, and the different earlier you just find 2 or 3 brands of the wine in India, but labels of the wine. But now it's getting popular.
This would be like in the south, I would assume, or like near the
Yeah, so
coast, right?
there is one in closer to Nasik, and there are like 2 or 3 labels max. But now from last 3 to 4 years, it would see like almost 20 to 30% of the growth in the wines.
Yeah.
It's still not as popular like the Western countries. People still prefer to have the more of the like the other liquors. But I would say in 10 years or 5 years, the game would be completely changed in India in terms of because now people have a accessibility to everything and anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what, like, I mean, that's where the evolvement always comes from too. Like guys like back in the day, like, was it Paul Hodges would like go all over the country? Is it Paul Hodges? No, what am I saying? Not Paul Hodges.
Paul Hobbs?
Paul Hobbs. Sorry. Paul Hobbs. Thank you. Paul Hobbs would like go to New Zealand, but go to South America, and like he'd go around and he's like, I know how to make wine. So I'll just go make wine all around
Consultant
the world.
I did a
winemakers.
funny
Yeah.
incident. I
Yeah.
made a wine time in the kitchen. Two times. One
Yeah.
time I made with the gooseberries. And one of my chef, he's from the region from Kerala. So he's also really good with making wine. So one time, like together, we made the wine with and the mangoes. So
Oh, wow.
we made the wine in-house in the kitchen.
That must have tasted like
it was
shit.
so good. No, it was so good. And it was like,
Really?
yeah. So after like, and it was so good. And it was like so clear and it's very, very nice. And everybody did the tasting of that wine after 1.5 months once it's like it was fermented and we restrained it. And it just made all of us drunk.
Yeah.
In terms of tasting, everybody was like, Chef, can I have one more round of tasting? Chef, can I have one more round of tasting? But it turned out to be really, really good. Yeah.
Well,
Have
if
you
you ever
made
make it to prison, you'll have a career.
Yeah, seriously. Hopefully not. Have you made your own wine yet at Tamasha?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, he didn't get a chance to.
You didn't get a chance
And
to.
it
Yeah.
is. I mean, right now it's just so
It's
busy.
It's
just-
overwhelming in a very good way.
Yeah.
Like it's overwhelming in a good way.
And
Yeah.
the response we got, I mean, that's what I go every day, meet with guests, touch tables, just to see how people are reacting
Yeah.
to the experience.
Yeah.
And me, Tina, and of course Bhavin is part of it. We just wanted to give the experience.
Yeah.
Of course, we need to make money. Forget it. Everything you follow if you are giving the right experience to the guest. And Raleigh has responded beyond our belief. I mean, we are blessed. That's what I tell guests.
I would be like very thankful to the people of Raleigh who give
Absolutely.
us so much of love and warmth.
And
Yeah.
Even the front of the house, nobody has worked in Indian restaurant. So think about it. They had to learn
Each and everything.
each and everything,
Yeah.
spices, the dishes, the name of the dishes, and then pairing the wine.
Yeah.
So for 2 to 3 weeks, they were going home drunk in a way
Because
because they
of
were,
the training.
they
I
were
can attest
genuinely
to
wine-
that.
Yeah, they were wine tasting every
Yeah.
day. They were pairing the beers and everything. And but had that paid off so well. If
Yeah.
you look at our reviews,
Yeah.
you're gonna see names like Lawrence, Marco, Tara, Sierra,
all our stuff.
Stain, Sammy, everybody.
That's cool. They're getting called out
They
by
know
name.
and they know what they're saying in
Yeah.
terms of menu. They know
Yeah.
the allergens, and it's very huge.
Well,
for
it's
us, so.
because your uniform just has their name written in like huge font. I'm kidding. I have to ask you though, like, being that you are brand new to the industry, and the three of us, this guy, and this guy, have all been in this industry for most of our entire adult lives. What is something, not to put you on the spot, but like, what's something you didn't expect that is now part of this culture that you're now dealing with on a day-to-day basis
Adventures?
of working here?
Yes. So I thought it would be a little easier than,
Yeah,
like
it's a slog.
exactly. So I asked Bhavin, so how is it? I mean, it's gonna be like tough. I mean, I have heard restaurant industry is like rigorous and a lot of work. He said, no, it's just gonna be adventure every day. I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't read between the lines at that time, but now I am living that adventure every day,
Yeah.
but in a good way. I
Yeah.
mean, and I feel, and I thrive when there is a challenge and finding a solution. Somebody comes in, oh, this is the problem. I said, don't worry about it. If there is a problem, that means there is a solution. Otherwise, the problem would not exist.
Yeah. I have opinions of this, but I want to get it from you, Bhavin. In working with Mike, in working with a person that did not come from the industry, who wasn't an old salty veteran from this industry, like, what is the perspective like with working with someone that's new to the industry, and like, are there any particular things that he or Tina have done that like have kind of like done something different or new to you for the space? You know what I mean? Like that create the environment differently.
I would say like, the common thing in the hospital industry, which is a basic, is like the giving the experience and the best experience. And coming from India, like there is a saying, Atithi Devo Bhava, like a guest is God always. And that's in most of the every Indian has it. So
Sorry, say it slow for me so I can understand what you said.
so if coming from India, we call like Atithi Devo Bhava. That means
I'm not going to even try to say that.
Atiti Debava.
yeah, that means guest is God. Like
Oh,
so
cool.
so they know that the guest is always a god, and that's what we learn in the hospitality industry. So the end goal was the same, like for all of us.
Yeah.
Only thing is like okay, certain things they didn't know, and that's what my role came into the picture to like make them know about, okay, this is how it works. And the thing is the learning. So they were always up for learning and like okay, oh wow, this is happening like this, oh nice. So so that was
cool. Yeah.
so it was never, I would say, it was like more fun in a way because they're learning new things every day, but at the same time the goal was like to be Atithi Devo Bhava, like guest is always God. So the experience to the guest should always be the first priority.
You haven't asked Mike to like chop any onions yet.
Oh,
have
I
you?
made him done once because
Oh, you know what? I have a story for that. So we basically, in month of April, we get
it was July. It was
July. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
July we get a call from North Hills community or North Hills. They said we have an Iron Chef challenge. And I said, Bhavin, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase your talent.
He put the name already without telling me like how I'm putting the name.
I said, it would make sense, right? And now we don't have kitchen. We don't have anything.
We don't have any equipment, pans, pot, nothing. no
Knives
spices,
or a
knives,
chopping board.
or
Mhm.
a chopping board because we just started.
This sounds like a thing a person that's not in the industry would do.
Exactly. Exactly.
So-
That's the different thing I did.
Yeah.
So
And the other chef was like, who was participating was coming with their sous chefs.
20 years of experience, first of all, and
Uh-huh.
last year's winner from
Whatever.
next door, Renaissance, the breakfast place.
Oh, yeah. Like another broken egg or no? No,
No, Renaissance restaurant.
the Renaissance Hotel.
Yeah, so
Got
like,
it.
they were like
Yes.
they were like the already experienced coming with their sous chefs and like already prepped with half of their things like chopped and like stock made.
Oh, wait. You're saying this is the Midtown breakfast, the
Iron
brunch?
Chef challenge.
Iron
Yes.
Chef
We participated in this back when I was at Midtown.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of it. Actually, Chef Jake Wood, when he was at the Cowfish way back in the day, that's where I first met him, was at
Oh, wow.
that challenge. And Vache didn't show up. Someone slept in there. I'm calling you out, Vivace. It's been like 9 years. Who cares? They show up all the
Vivace
time
was
now.
there,
They're
right? This
great.
time also Vivace was there. I think it was,
but
so we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
I go to restaurant Depot.
one day before,
Literally one day before, and
It's
we
like,
were
Bhavin,
under
what
the
do you need?
impression that we need to prep everything there.
there nothing is
Chopping the
prepped.
onions, chopping
No
the
stock,
onions, and all
nothing.
that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I go there. I said, give me the list. I got everything what I could.
It's like buy 2 pans, buy 2 ladles, buy 2.
And we had 2 mystery ingredients.
Yeah.
And at that time, when they had decided a protein, we were not in the picture. And then I see the chef coming in with their carts. Everything is lined up.
Oh, yeah.
The stock, carrots, celery, onions. He had like gazillion small plastic, cups with all those
Like
spices. and everything.
tasting cups and everything
I'm
all
like,
perfect.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
It's like,
we are
wow.
already screwed.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We started chopping right then and there. I'm like, no, we didn't know that we should
Get into
And
it.
Mike
yeah.
is like, don't worry, I will be your sous chef. It's like, yeah, but you spent the first decision to take the name on.
Believe me, like as a front of the house guy mainly, like anytime I've ever worked with any of the chefs that have worked with
Yeah.
me in the past know that they're like, oh shit.
And you know
Max
what
wants
was
to
the
be a part
secret?
of this?
What was the secret ingredient?
Yeah.
It
Blood.
was beef. And which both
Oh,
of us don't eat
no.
it. I eat it only when I cook and I just taste it, but I never eat it. Like
Yeah.
it was a beef and the sweet potatoes. And now we have a 60 minutes to cook for 30 guests and the 3 judges
Oh, geez.
from the scratch. And you know what was the result of that competition?
What happened? Wait, did you fail completely or did you win?
We won the competition.
Nice.
Yes, we made. I mean, of course, made it.
Hollywood's making the movie of this right now.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
It was fun. It
I
was
mean,
really good.
Of course, I was under his lead, and whatever he needed,
Sure.
I could. So now I say, okay, you know what? I could do something.
Yeah.
So both of us,
That's cool though.
Yeah.
That was like a good bonding experience for the
Yeah.
two of you, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely,
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm gonna infer this, but like Mike, you realize quickly in this industry that like you have to be humble real fast. Like you realize like when you're in this business, whether you're the guy in the nice blazer and you're on the walking the floor or opening bottles of champagne or greeting guests, you're also at times the person that might have to mop the floor in the back or take the trash out or just deal with like an unruly guest or a drunk person or whatever. Like it can be ugly at times, but it's the whole thing is the whole thing. Like
he does everything
you
now.
have to do
But,
it.
but it's for me, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's not ugly because this is if you have a one goal and one goal only, the best guest experience. You look out for your team. This is a process. This is you're supposed to do. That's it. There is nothing like ugly or if I see my guest is waiting on tables and if I need to bust the table,
Yeah.
I would bust the table. What's wrong
The thing
with
is,
that?
he does everything. Whenever
Yeah.
to step in, he just
I
steps in.
haven't
Yeah.
got a chance yet to go and do the dishes and all those things yet. I hope it's gonna
You
happen.
haven't been open for very long, so that'll
So, but you know what? It is what it is, right?
yeah.
Adventure every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, adventure.
Dude,
every-
Matt, I don't know
So-
if you remembered. I don't know if you were working with me at the time, but back at Cafe Del Rey, which was the restaurant that he and I both worked at where we met,
Oh, wow.
there was a time, and I think you might have been because at this point I was a manager, so that's when you were on staff.
Yeah.
Our plumbing pipe snapped underneath. Like, do you remember how like our wine program was in a cellar,
Yeah.
but the way you
course.
get to it, there was like
Yeah, you'd
you'd
have to
also walk underground, and so like there was just soil.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the underbelly of the restaurant was there and all the pipes, like there was water pipes and there were sewage pipes. And both of them, the sewage pipe like had a crack in it, but then like just the drain pipe from the sink fully snapped. Like it popped and broke. And everyone's like, what the hell? Like I saw there was water. Like I ran down there. I'm like, oh shit. And I had to grab one of those huge trash cans and I picked it up and like with my back, I like pushed the pipe closed so it wasn't like leaking out everywhere. But because the mount, like it was like underground, I had to crawl my hands and knees and push it up and then wedge the trash can underneath to just get it to stop like spewing all over the place. I didn't want to ruin our wine program.
Of course.
And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like in a nice suit, nice shoes, all this stuff. And just get in there enough. I'm screaming at like waiting, like, asking for someone to help. And they're bringing me towels and I'm getting duct tape. And I'm like, all this. And then we're calling like, the Roto-Rooter or the plumber, like emergency to get there to fix it. But I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is the job
But
at
we
this
signed
moment.
up for it. I signed up for it. I knew
Yeah.
it. I believe. So business is like a baby. If you want to raise it happily or with, a not smile on your face, I would rather, because we have a baby, I would rather raise it with a smile. Why?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That means you got to clean up poop. You got to
Yes.
clean up poop.
absolutely.
Yes. And the good thing is, like, if you ever if you ever get a chance to come to the restaurant, you'll see the energy that flows in our restaurant with the front and the back. It's so
Oh, we're
positive.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are coming.
It's funny. I mean, I wasn't going to ask, but like just to throw it out there and the answer totally could be no, but you don't cook beef very often, which means you
Yeah.
also might not cook brisket very often.
Oh.
But what if you were what if you were challenged to smoke a brisket? Or actually, you don't even have
You
to
do
smoke
it
it.
however
I
you
would
want.
say- I would say in my Michelin-starred restaurant, which was a 2 Michelin-star restaurant, like I used to cook the beef all the time. Like,
Yeah.
and I used to taste it. We used to do the wagyu, all kind of a wagyus over there.
Mm.
So it was there on the menu all the time. Back in India too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to cook that much, but like when I was in San Francisco too,
All
like
us fat
yeah,
Americans over here.
yeah. We no.
So actually, that's a good question. How much more food on the plate do you have to put for an American restaurant versus an Indian restaurant? Be honest. Is it like 20% more, or is it more like 50% more, or is it like 3 times more?
I think like I think people don't complain about the portion size. Of course, like of course it's a fine dining. Like you cannot like bulk the dish with like lots of food. It has to make sense to it, and something which has to like if it's something which that has to be there, it has to be there. But of course, every dish like it has to make sense.
Sure.
And
A lot of comments we got is your portion size is perfect. Yes, there are people say, oh my God, the price we pay, the portion size. But major comments came in was the portion size is perfect.
Hmm.
So, again, it should be an experience. If you just have so much food in front of you, which it should be appetizing. It should be, it should be sensual in a way, right? I mean, to your eyes, to your senses, the flavors. And just want to, Indian food, everybody then think, oh my God, it's going to be spicy. It's going to be oily. Spice can take a different way. Spice can be spicy, hot, or flavorful, which is, that is what we are targeting, right? It's more of a flavor.
It's a right balance of the spices in the.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you put more spices, it takes away the flavor, right? More spicy, the more hotter.
Hot.
I do eat spicy food, very spicy food, but that takes away from the flavor.
You need balance.
Exactly. Yeah. So his focus is that every dish should have flavor. We have over 15 distributors in our restaurant for just for the kitchen, for the food items.
Yeah.
It's not just we are bringing just from 2 places. We are cooking everything in bulk, and every dish has a story and a premium ingredients. So quality is what matters to us.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, this is great, guys. Man, I'm so hungry right now. It's
I'm serious.
But we can't wait to eat there. And I thank you guys for doing this for the community. Chef Bhavin, we're so thankful to have you in Raleigh. And we'll have to do this again. Like maybe once you guys are open for like a year and talk about it. And or maybe Max threw it out there. Maybe you'll be a participant in Bubbles and Brisket. But until then, for everybody out there, go to Tamasha. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening
Thank
to the
you.
NCF&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.